European leaders offer condolences and assistance to North Macedonia after a nightclub fire claimed the lives of 59 people and injured 155 more.
U.S. President Donald Trump flouts Georgia's order and deports more than 250 Venezuelans to El Salvador.
The rule of law is deteriorating across the EU, says an extensive report by human rights organizations.
Parents of teenage victims who died in a nightclub fire in North Macedonia gathered outside a hospital to prevent coroners from taking away the bodies of their children. A massive fire tore through an overcrowded club in Kojani, killing 59 people and injuring 155 others. They yelled and shouted at officials, demanding explanations for the negligence that led to the death of their loved ones. The tragic fire drew messages of support from around the world. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen expressed her condolences to the victims and their relatives in a post on X. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky wished a speedy recovery to those wounded. Pope Francis, who's been hospitalized for more than a month for double pneumonia, also offered his profound condolences. Skopje says it had accepted offers of assistance from Bulgaria, Greece, Serbia, and Turkey to send patients with life-threatening injuries for treatment. But for many of those who survived, the wounds cannot be treated.
Някои ветото са отидели место дека има негде решетки да излезат, ама там се зарушили. Некои се останали от диското, не са можели да ги извлечат. Аз излегнах некакой панав по скалите и сите преко мене пројдела, сите ме прегазија и аз некако едва ја останав жива, едва и дишав и се издеков на краја, ама сестра изгубив.
Officials say the club was carrying more than double its maximum occupancy of 250 at the time of the fire. 15 people were detained to investigate possible corruption and bribery after it was discovered the venue was operating without a proper license. A week of national mourning was declared in the country to honor the victims.
More than 250 Venezuelans have been deported by the United States and sent to El Salvador, where they were transferred to a maximum security prison. Salvadoran President and U.S. Secretary of State confirmed the deportations on Sunday, despite a judge's order blocking the move. The Trump administration accused them of being members of the Tren de Aguirre criminal gang, invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport them.
Yo la verdad no sé dónde estamos, como no se podía ver nada. Cuando nos dejaron en el lugar, cuando ya estamos así que miramos, está en una pared. Yo medio volteo así para atrás, pero está otra pared grandísima con púa y todo eso, y yo no se ve nada. Y ahí de una vez nos metieron, ya era pura puerta. Cuando yo llego así a bajar la cabeza, que veo así una alfombra, dice Guantánamo.
The Trump administration has not identified the migrants deported or provided any evidence they are members of the Tren de Aragua or that they committed any crimes in the U.S. The Alien Enemies Act has been used only 3 times in U.S. history.
Yemen's Houthi rebels claim to have launched 18 ballistic and cruise missiles and drones on the U.S. aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman in a retaliatory attack. A Houthi military spokesman said that they will not hesitate to target all American warships in the Red Sea and in the Arabian Sea. The attack comes after the US launched dozens of airstrikes on Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen on Saturday, targeting locations including the capital Sana'a and Sada province. The Houthis claim the strikes killed at least 31 people, mostly women and children. Last week, the Houthis said they would renew attacks against Israeli vessels after Israel cut off the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza this month. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told local media on Sunday that attacks will go on until the Houthis stop controlling maritime traffic. On Sunday, the head of Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard denied his country was involved in the Houthis' attacks, according to a state-run TV.
The situation of the rule of law is deteriorating every year in the EU. Cornerstones of democracy, such as the justice system, anti-corruption measures and media freedom, are facing persistent and systematic challenges and deficiencies. The Rule of Law report published on Monday by the Civil Liberties Union for Europe reveals that, while individual countries exhibit variations, a broader observation shows that all fundamental aspects of the rule of law have encountered similar and deepening challenges over the past few years.
We see a large number of countries where the rule of law continues to decline, most notably Italy, Slovakia, Romania, and Hungary, of course. The reason behind this is because the EU is not strong enough in its responses to rule of law declines. If rule of law violations are permitted, even tacitly, it encourages government leaders to further deteriorate the rule of law.
It is the 6th year the substantially independent report has been published. It comes to 1,000 pages and is the result of a collaboration between 43 human rights organizations from 21 EU countries. Experts have categorized countries into different groups. Stagnators are countries that stayed at the same situation or made only minimal progress in their rule of law indicators. In this category, Greece, Ireland, Malta, the Netherlands, and Spain can be found. Sliders are role model democracies like Belgium, France, Germany, and Sweden, which demonstrated an isolated but still troubling decline in a few dimensions. And dismantlers, the governments of Italy, Bulgaria, Croatia, Romania, Slovakia, who systemically and intentionally undermine the rule of law in nearly all aspects. The weakest link is once again Hungary.
We must realize that the EU faces its internal rule of law challenges in a changing political landscape, the rise of the far-right populism in Europe, political decline, democratic decline in the United States, and Russia's war on Ukraine weakens the EU's unity and its resilience to authoritarian threats.
According to the report, it would be absolutely crucial for the European Commission to link the annual Rule of Law report to other rule of law enforcement mechanisms, such as Article 7 infringement proceedings or EU conditionality.
The French champagne industry is bracing itself for a major blow after US President Donald Trump threatened on Thursday to slap tariffs of up to 200% on European alcohol if the EU's new tariffs on bourbon are not lifted. The US is France's top client when it comes to champagne exports, causing panic among winemakers of an already weakened sector. Champagne sales have been sinking for more than 2 years now, as inflation-wary consumers, both in France and abroad, cut back due to rising prices. A trend this Parisian wine shop owner has definitely noticed.
Je vends du champagne, mais depuis 2 ans, les prix ont beaucoup augmenté. Depuis 2-3 ans, les prix augmentent régulièrement et du coup, mes clients s'en détournent.
Instead, her clients turn to other bubbly alternatives, like a sparkling Vouvray wine that she sells for approximately 10 euros.
Effectivement, c'est ma plus grosse vente. Évidemment, et comme par hasard, c'est un petit prix.
Other more affordable alternatives are threatening the champagne sector internationally. It's a much-needed wake-up call for the industry, according to an expert.
Il faut accepter le fait que Champagne, qui a vécu sur une forme de monopole pendant plusieurs décennies, ne soit plus aujourd'hui en situation de monopole, que ce soit sur le marché français avec la montée en puissance des créments, d'une part, ou sur les marchés internationaux avec à la fois les créments, bien sûr, mais aussi le cava et le prosecco qui gagnent des parts de marché et qui aujourd'hui soient mis en situation de concurrence avec le champagne, alors qu'avant, on estimait que c'était deux produits finalement différents.
For the moment, Europe and France seem unwilling to back down to Trump's threats. The French Federation of Wine and Spirits Exporters, on the other hand, said that they're fed up with being systematically sacrificed in the wake of the trade war.
The Vatican released the first photograph of Pope Francis since his hospitalization just over a month ago. The pontiff was pictured in a view from behind wearing a purple stole typical of Lenten liturgical vestments. Francis was sat down in a wheelchair facing an altar at the Gemelli Hospital Chapel in Rome. The Vatican says the 88-year-old pontiff was celebrating Mass with other priests. The Pope was hospitalized on the 14th of February after a week-long bout with bronchitis quickly turned into double pneumonia. Supporters have been visiting the Rome hospital where he's at to pray for his recovery. On Sunday, a group of dancers gathered at the hospital to dance the tango for the Pope. The dancers say they wanted to make the Argentine pontiff feel the energy of the tango.
Non me lo dimentico più. Mi ricordo essere avvicinata a lui e le dico: Santo Padre, posso dare un abbraccio tanghero? E lui mi risponde e mi dice: a me quanto piacerebbe ballare un tango con te. E io morivo. Io quando mi aveva detto quello ho detto: è un'emozione bellissima sapere che lui è argentino, che chiama il tango come lo amiamo noi tangheri. È proprio una cosa meravigliosa che credo che si merita farle arrivare la nostra energia.
Last week, doctors overseeing Francis's treatment said he was no longer in critical condition, but underlined that it remained complex. They say the Pope's age, lack of mobility, and the loss of part of a lung as a young man still pose concerns warranting constant monitoring. They also confirmed that an X-ray revealed that his respiratory infection was clearing, but added that he was still requiring high-flow supplemental oxygen.